mission, I'm trying to get it right. Transition, changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission, trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life. Making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Making a transition. I'm on a mission, I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition in my life. On a mission.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, that's the first book. The Black Woman is God.
Okay.
Yes.
So are you allowed to get books in there? Are you allowed to receive books there?
Oh yeah, I can receive books. But you have to send it. Now see, that's the thing about that is, okay, we got a mailing address, which is a third party, and we also, for books and magazines, that's a fourth party. So we got to go to the security processing center to get the books processed. Then we can get them. And then our mail has to go through another address, which is down in Florida. It's ridiculous, but this is what they do.
That particular prison is going to be one of the worst prisons I've ever heard of. I didn't know it was that strenuous to do every little single thing. That's crazy.
This is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is maybe 20, 30 years behind in the criminal justice system. Pennsylvania has probably the most draconian laws on the books. So it's a process, but I'm grateful to the ancestors. I'm able to dig into their law books, understand it. I know how to articulate it. I know how to write it. I know how to put it in the language and put it before the court so that they can understand it. So now that's what I'm dealing with, fighting my own case because I was wrongfully convicted. So there's two things. You got actual innocence and then you have legal innocence. And I have a case of both. I'm actually innocent and I also have a case of legal innocence. Legal innocence is, actual innocence obviously is like what the word suggests, is that you're actually innocent. You didn't commit whatever crime that they allege that you committed. However, once you get in the criminal justice system and you have been convicted by the law, you've been convicted by a so-called jury of your peers, you are now convicted. It didn't matter whether you did it or not. Now the onus is on you. The burden is on you to prove with clear and convincing evidence that you didn't do this on your appeals. So you got to come in here, and if you don't have the money to get the best lawyers, that means you got to get over there and start studying this stuff, and they only give you a certain amount of time to learn something that they went to school for 8 years and been probably practicing 30 years, and you got to know this stuff, and it's no excuse that you don't know it because they saying having no knowledge of the law is not an excuse.
Wow.
So you got to come in here, and this has to become your religion. It has to become your spirituality. You got to walk it, talk it, eat it, knife it, fork it. You got to stalk it. You got to think law all the time. Because if not, you'll be sitting here with many of these guys who have either given up, they've lost hope, they don't try, they just become slaves to this system. And that's not Brother Natural Tahuti. None of that is in me. I'm a warrior.
Right.
I'm a revolutionary. It's about freedom. And that's the blessing of having knowledge of African spirituality, because our spirituality that we have come in tune with here in the hemispheres of North America and throughout the diaspora, it compels us to be about fighting for freedom.
Right. So
You see?
So right now there's like this whole thing where people are now becoming more FBA, and it's kind of getting away from the whole Pan-Africanism movement. Like the Pan-African movement is starting to slowly disintegrate, and everybody's becoming this, what this word is called, a foundational Black American. So it's kind of changing up the narrative. So it's interesting that you're coming out with this book with that you have coming out about Elijah Muhammad, and then the Moorish science and things like that. Talking about the Moorish science and things like that, understanding law and this, that, the other. But your first book, Black Woman Was God, was a great book. I wanted to talk a little about that because I was able to help and put that onto Amazon. It's now available.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the Black Woman Is God, but then I really want to get into the up and coming book that you do have coming out. I want people to support that. But I wanted to get a little idea of what that book was. I haven't got to read it yet. I got to get a copy.
Well, I selected an excerpt, which is the forward. It's one page, and I'll just briefly give you a synopsis. The Black Woman of God this is not a Eurocentric feminist clone imitation of the white woman's liberation movement seeking equality from her white male counterpart. Rather, this is an organic, holistic, historical report of the world's her story. The Black woman's divinity and worship have been attested to in the ancient lands of Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. This ancient knowledge was deliberately, fiendishly, and diabolically suppressed, repressed, and depressed for thousands of years, starting with the advent of the Indo-Europeans, for example, the Scythians, the Cimmerians, the so-called Aryans and Kurdans, the battle axe cultures. Particularly between 2000 and 1500 BC, waves and waves of anxious, paranoid, xenophobic, narcissistic, sexually perverted rapists and patriarchal warlike barbarians flowed out of the Caucasus Mountains and descended upon the advanced civilizations of Black people in the Near East, Africa, India, and eventually around the entire globe. They ruthlessly killed, pillaged, burnt all African cultures that were worshiping the great Black mother and her physical representation of the Black woman. Ultimately, they stole, plagiarized, changed, reconstructed, and altered any traces of this Black woman as God ideology, whose physical image was literally that of the Black woman. But your comrade and your brother, Natural Tahuti, in this book will repair the broken fragments of this proud her story of the Black woman as God. It is with great honor that I present this knowledge to you. And I hope that you'll go out and buy a copy, support it, and always buy Black. Peace.
I want to really see the actual book so we can make sure that when we get the book, we're getting the real deal. Can you show it to me again?
Yes. Yep. Can you see it?
Man, that's a beautiful cover. That cover. Who is that? Who's on that cover? I think you said your mother.
Okay, so when you look up here, this is the clouds, and down here you'll see my daughter. That's Tanetta, the blueberry goddess. She's sitting on the throne, and then there are my other two youngest daughters next to her, and my son is the divine masculine guarding the throne of the Black woman. And so you're looking at the concept of the triple goddess, the three young women here, and then my mom's is the spiritual ideation or the spiritual foundation of all of the cosmos. See, because this universe is feminine. And everything we're living in the body of the great mother. So so that's why that concept was my mother's coming out of the clouds.
Lately there's been like this talk of Sophia and like the Abraxas or there's a lot of noise going on.
Yeah, they got. Hold on. Go ahead.
So I've been talking to a guy named Brother Unk 607 Unk. And he talks a lot about Sophia and Abraxas and like the whole Coptic, a kid called is it called a Coptic? I think it's called, or Gnosticism. Are you aware of Gnosticism?
Gnostic. Yes.
Gnostic,
Yeah,
Abraxas, and Sophia, and that we're stuck on like that Sophia was the first god.
I'm very familiar with. Yes, I'm very familiar with the Gnostics and the term Sophia. Actually, Sophia is the Greek rendition of the goddess Isis.
Oh, okay.
Sophia is also the foundation of where you get the word philosophy from. So in the word philosophy, you have the word Sophia, and Sophia is actually the goddess, and which is none other than the goddess Isis, who is Aset. That's her African name, and the Greek name is Isis, who they developed a whole system of teaching called Sophia, which actually means the wisdom teaching. So the Gnostics, they come from a group of people who were the Essenes. This comes out of a group of Africans who were called the Essenes, and so Gnosticism is just another rendition or another school of thought that came from out of ancient Kemet, because from ancient Kemet, actually beginning down somewhere in the Sahara, those Africans that came up and built the Kushite Empire and the Kemetic Empire, they traveled into other lands, and everywhere they went, they took the Sophia, or the wisdom teachings, the teachings of the goddess Isis, or the goddess Aset, and they took that with them everywhere. This is none other than the mystery system of the ancient Kemites, which, going into my new book, this is what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad calls the supreme wisdom. This is what the Moorish Science Temple calls Moorish science. Mm-hmm. And then also what the Freemasons call Freemasonry. All of this came out of the Nile Valley civilization.
So even that the Gnostic teachings are the foundation of Masonic, Islamic, and you would say all those other teachings. Are those like the main teachings of like that Sophia type of thing? But how did it turn into a male thing where you only are worshiping Elijah?
Yes, it's correct, because what you have, actually, when ancient Kemet was destroyed, the sacred masters, they went undercover, and they went over into the adjacent lands of Arabia. At that particular time, during the 6th century, you had the Islamic movement coming into its primacy. So the Moors who were the custodians of the ancient sciences of Kemet, they took that science and they went into the religion of Islam, and they disguised the teachings of Kemet under what is now called Moorish science. In the Arabic term, it's called al-Biniyat, meaning the builders. Al-Biniyat is the builders. This was the foundation of Freemasonry. So the Freemasons, they got this particular knowledge because the Moors had took that science into Islam and to kind of safeguard the mysteries, and from that point they created other movements such as Sufism. So Sufism is another form of the ancient Kemetic mystery teaching under this cloak of Islam. It was under the cloak of Islam.
So is Sufism close to Sophiaism, or is that something? Because I'm thinking like that would be Sufism, Sophia. Is that like something similar, or is that something different?
Yes, it is. Yes. See, all of these teachers are synonymous. You see, no matter what the name of it is, this is none other than the teachings of ancient Kemet. Now, some of this stuff, because of the fact that it moved away from Kemet, it became perverted over the years, and some of the knowledge was lost. However, the ancient masters created these different schools, such as Hermeticism. Yes. Then you also have, what is the name of this group? It'll come to me in a second. The Rosicrucians, all of these different secret societies, all of them have a part of the mysteries. Now, some of this stuff got watered down, some of it got perverted, but the point is that the mystery systems was preserved through these secret societies. And that was the plan of the ancient masters, because one day this knowledge would get back into our hands. And that knowledge got back into our hands in the early 1900s or the late 1800s with the beginning of Marcus Garvey. You had Marcus Garvey, you had the Honorable Marcus Garvey, you had Noble Drew Ali, and Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. With those particular group, those men right there, each one of them brought something different to the table. Marcus Garvey brought Christianity, but it was an Africanized Christianity. Noble Drew Ali, he brought the science of the Asiatic. Elijah Muhammad also followed suit. But even though these groups are sort of like watered down to some extent, we still was given that spark. And that's what was needed. Once we got that spark of ancestral knowledge, it created a revolution in the minds of Africans here in America. And hence today, we have all of these African-centered spiritual groups coming to the rise. I want to speak one thing on this new trend you're talking about called foundational Black Americans.
Yeah.
I think
that was started by Tariq Nasheed. Tariq Nasheed, I thought he used to be a Hebrew Israelite. He started a whole thing called Hidden Colors and had that whole documentary series out. And then recently he's came up with the whole foundational Black America. And so he's basically saying, no, we are from America. Our lineage is American, and that is my primary lineage. We created an ethnogenesis when we got to America, and so there's no real connection to Africa, and there's not really he's basically saying we were here already, pretty much. There were some people that were brought over during the slave trade, but we were already in America.
Okay.
And there's no real connection to Africa.
Well, I would like to compliment him on his efforts to enlighten Black folks through the documentary Hidden Colors. It was excellent. Only thing I would have suggested that there would have been some more information about the Black woman and the goddess, but there wasn't. But it was excellent, and a lot of people learned from it. That was excellent. However,
and also there's almost a movement against Pan-Africanism. So all this religion that's Pan-Africanism or based in Africa is kind of being looked down upon. Pan-Africanism is not necessarily a positive thing to be a part of anymore. We are foundational Black Americans. We can trace our lineage back 25 years or 25 generations or whatever, 8 generations. So we have an ethnogenesis that happened here, and we're not connected to Africa at all.
And I think, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is agent provocateur. This is an actual attack against our Africanness. Yes, it is true that Africans were here in America. Yeah, there's evidence of that. But it matters not that we were here in America. We are also in China. We're also in Russia. We're also in other places of the world. But that does not negate the fact that Africa is our throne. The planet Earth is our home. You can never get away from what Mariba Ani calls Asili. The Asili, the African Asili is your seed, your root. You can't get away from that. That is our genetic root. We have a cosmogenetic connection to the motherland, Africa. So to say that we have no connection to Africa, that is a very dangerous statement, and I reject that. And I am willing, once I can get up out of here, I'll take anybody to the stage and debate them on that, because I believe that's dangerous and is borderline agent provocateur. Period.
It's really like really hitting a lot of the young people, and they're all beginning to like think in this way. And there's actually like a battle between the Africans. Like right now, there's a battle between the African Americans in Louisiana and South Africa because of the Zulu parade. There's like this whole thing where they're mad because the Zulu parade exists, and this parade existed for 100 years. And they're mad because they're like, well, that doesn't represent Zulu. I mean, there's like this almost like a battle going on. It's crazy. So, and then you have the African Americans like, well, we're FBAs and you're African and we're not, and you're not a part of us and we're not a part of you and we're separated. So it's like,
see what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like a separation going on, and so it's hard to like.
Yes.
Do you hear any people in jail? In prison right now talking about FBA that they are FBAs and they're not African?
Well, many of these people talk that anyway, but not because of any FBA, but they believe that anyway. That has been the sentiments of Africans here in this country to begin with, since we've been under the mental enslavement, since we've been indoctrinated mentally in our enslavement in this country. That's their sentiments to begin with. We was taught not to be genuinely African. But how can you get away from your genetics? Your genetics demand. Your genetics demand who you are. You don't get to choose who you are.
Here's a question before we go to, okay, so what if the people are trying to make America the place, the center, instead of Africa now being the center? It's saying that really America is the center. Everything started here, that the tombs and all these different things that we have, the artifacts that we have are older than that are in Africa. And this is the real place, but they're trying to take away our birthright by trying to connect us to Africa rather than what we have in America.
Yeah, I've heard these arguments plenty of time. Here's the point. Here's the thing. America allegedly was once a part of Western, the part of the West Egypt. When you look at the landmass was once connected. So there may be some argument as of, when the land separated, that Africans were caught on this part of the diaspora. But there's no scientific proof for them to solidify.
I think they're using architectural stuff, like not architecture, like what's it called when you have a
anthropology,
and also like artifactual proof, like going into like bones.
Yeah, but the oldest paleoanthropological evidence there is takes us all the way back to the Sahara. If they can show me artifacts, if they can show me bone evidence of bones and older than that which they found in the Sahara, then they may have an argument.
Well,
but
I think they're saying that they did find some really old bones in like somewhere like in Mississippi or somewhere in America of like an African's two teeth or something like that, or some jawbone that they found or whatever from, but.
Well, look, but see, because you found evidence of old bones here in America, that's not proof that America was the center. That's not proof of it, because here's the point. We have been lied to by academia to begin with, because the world is much older than what they've been letting on to. If you get the book by Michael Cremo and his partner Thompson, they wrote a book called Forbidden Archaeology. Yeah, they found shoe prints here in America that was 505 million years old. Yeah, so there has been human activity here in America for millions of years. But there was activity all over the planet for millions of years. But I would say by far the oldest paleontological evidence would be in Africa.
So we are really
There's no debate.
We're really talking about this book that you got coming out with Elijah Muhammad and the Islamic and his aspects and what his contributions were. I really want to get into, to kind of close things up before we leave, why do you find that this is a very substantial book that you're putting out? Why is it necessary right now?
I think the book is really necessary because there is a divide there is a divide in many of these groups. A lot of times when the Nation of Islam speaks, a lot of people, men and women both, in the African-centered community, we don't want to hear it. Because the moment you hear the term Islam, we shut down. So I thought that this book would be very important because I'm here to show that, and I'm not a member of the Nation of Islam. Let's get this correct. I'm African-centered.
But you did start off in the 5% Nation.
Absolutely. The Nation of Gods and Earth.
Yeah.
And so the reason I put this book out was to show members of the Nation of Islam and brothers and sisters in the Nation of Gods and Earth that Elijah Muhammad did not actually teach Islam. He actually taught the Nile Valley mystery teachings. Although this system was cloaked under this new mythos that he created. This mythos that he created, he called it a new Islam. And so this book is actually an esoteric analysis of what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad called the supreme wisdom. The supreme wisdom is none other than the teachings of the Nile Valley civilization called the Sheta Netta. So,
wow. Oh,
yeah.
So, you know, I know that, man, they are making all kinds of noise. They're like trying to sell the guy.
Because on Thursday, there's a lot of work going on at this particular time. So the time that you picked to have this is the worst time to do this.
But I'm so glad to have got to talk about this. It's 12:57. I know we're about to have to wind it up. So what's some final things you want to say before?
Your picture. You're not on the screen for some reason.
Oh no, I'm here.
Oh yeah, there you. Oh okay. There you go. All right. Say that again.
So I just want to get some final things you want to say before we have to close, because I don't want them to just cut us off and be like, oh, you know how they just cut it off, and we got 3 minutes to cut it before they cut us.
Okay. Well, first thing I would like to say to the people out there was please go and support these books. These books are you're going to enjoy them. First of all, they're great reads. I put my heart and soul into them. There's a lot of information in these books. The Black Woman is God and the Egyptian Supreme Wisdom and esoteric analysis of the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. These books are great, but more so, your contribution to these books, all of the funds are going straight to my legal fund to help me uncover these legal chains that I have on me so that I can free myself in here. So this was my contribution to the movement, to leave my legacy, and to also at the same time help myself get some legal funds without begging anybody for anything. So please help contribute to that fund. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right.
So, all right. So.
Trying to get it right. Transition. Changing the way that I see life. Transition mind. I'm on a mission. Trying to get it right. I'm transitioning my life. Making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Ooh, making a transition. Making a transition. Trying to mission. I'm on a mission. I'm trying to get it right. Changing the way that I see life. Transition. conditioning.